Hello, my name is Jim, and we're going to be talking about this light today on
Kilimanjaro.
So this is the Dewalt DCL050 work light. It's a pretty basic light. It's a LED based. It's got 3 LEDs on the front here, and the head swivels like so you can position it to point at what you're looking at. It's got a hook on the top to hang it from something, and that's pretty much it. In the box, you don't really get anything more than that. There's a little pamphlet that I promptly lost. Doesn't really say anything useful anyway. And the light, and if you get the bare tool version, it doesn't even come with the battery. Of course, I have lots of extra batteries, so not a big deal. The one thing I would have liked to have seen in it is if it came with a belt hook. There's 2 screws on the side. You could attach a belt hook to, but it didn't come with one. Now, I have a couple other from some other tools, so I can add one if I want, but it would have been nice if it had come with one so you could hang it on your belt. Of course, it does have the hook that you can hang it from, so not the end of the world there. The light itself doesn't really have any more features. There is a spot for a lanyard back here, which is pretty nice. It does have some vents on the side. These LEDs do tend to get quite hot, so there's a big heat sink underneath here. So there's some vents on the side, and vents on the top so that airflow can go through there to keep those cool. So that's good to see, but do keep that in mind. If you're working in a real dusty environment, you might want to blow that out from time to time. The hook is nice and big and tall and beefy. They clearly sized it just to perfectly fit on a 2x4, so that can be handy. Now, if you're working on a 2x6 or something you want to hang it from, you can flip it around this way. It's not going to be able to point that way, but you can flip it around that way, so it still should work out just fine. Now, the light is balanced pretty well, so that with the battery on the top, it's not going to tip over too easily. And speaking of the battery, this is a 20-volt tool, and it takes any of DeWalt's 20-volt batteries. The battery life on this is quite good. It'll last for about twice as long as the number of amp hours that the battery is. So this is a 1.7 amp hour power stack battery. So the light on the high setting will last for about 4 hours. If you need more life, you can use one of these 4 amp hour batteries. Then it'll last about 8 hours, 5 amp, 10 hours. And then if you really need like 2 days worth of battery, you can use one of these big 9 amp hour batteries. It's going to last probably close to 20 hours on one of these guys here. So plenty of options there if you need lots of battery life for this. I find that it puts out quite a lot of light. It's perfect if you want to be doing, a single task. It's not going to light up a whole room. It'll light up, an individual thing that you're working on. If it's an electrical outlet, a panel, working on some HVAC stuff or on a car and a wheel well, something like that. It'll light all that up quite nicely. And it's pretty easy to use to position it somewhere that you can get the light where you want it to get. It's pretty hard to show just how bright one of these lights is. So right now I've got all the other lights turned off. The camera's going to kind of auto adjust so you can actually see what's going on still. And you can see this is the only light that's shining on me. It's on the 1000 lumen settings. Still quite bright. There's plenty of light coming off that. You'll notice that it has a bluish tinge. LEDs tend to have a bluish tinge if they're the kind of less expensive ones. You can get fancier ones, but it's not needed. These are not too bad though. I've seen some really cheap lights that are like super blue and super harsh looking. These aren't that bad. One thing is with only these 3 LEDs on there, you do get a little bit of shadow. Like there'll be a triple shadow on something that you're working on. That can be a little bit irritating, but it's not too bad. It's a lot better than if it was just one single bright LED. Just as a point of comparison, this is the M18 Rover light that I did a review on a year or two ago. It's kind of more meant as a bigger area light. It's a little bit brighter. It also has a little bit of a yellower tinge. It's a little more natural looking and feels a little bit nicer to work with. It's got more LEDs, so they're spread out a little bit as well, so that can be nice as well. I really do like this light. It's fairly small for the amount of light it puts out, and it lasts quite a long time. I do have 2 fairly small complaints about it though. The first is I really wish it had a magnet. If it had a magnet, then if there's like a metal ductwork or something, you can just stick it right onto there. If you're working on a car or something, you could stick it under the hood or something like that. It would be really handy to have. The other thing is, as the battery starts to get low and get empty, it starts to blink to let you know that. I wish it gave you defined, like you have in half an hour until it's done by blinking, I don't know, say 3 times, and then after 15 minutes it would blink 10 times or something, some sort of code to tell you how much time you have left before you need to get out of whatever dark room you're working on, so that you're not stuck in the dark when it actually does go dim. Something that is not as big a deal because the battery life is so good, but it's always irritating. I don't always put a fresh battery in here. I'll be up in the attic thinking that I've got plenty of time, and it starts blinking, and you really only have about 5 or 10 minutes once it starts blinking before it's going to go out. And in that 5 or 10 minutes, it's going to be blinking most of the time at you, which is very irritating if you're trying to finish something up. But Other than that, I really like it. It's not super expensive if you find it on sale. I think I paid about $40 for this. If you just go into Home Depot or whatever and buy it off the shelf, it's going to be quite a bit more. I think the normal list price is about $80 for it, which is kind of a lot for what it is. But if you get a good sale on it, if you get it with some batteries, it can be pretty cheap. Something that if you have the Dewalt batteries already, definitely something you should pick up. It's super handy to have, whenever you're working in any sort of dark environment. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.